The men were waiting outside Jum's school at 3:15 on a Wednesday afternoon. Not Mr. Andy. Not any of the 3 rotating drivers Key had assigned to the Wednesday pickup. Different men. 2 of them. Black sedan, no plates, parked 40 feet from the school gate with the engine running and the windows down just enough. Jum saw them before Mr. Andy did. He always saw everything before everyone else did. He came through the school gate in his deep forest green bomber jacket over a crisp white shirt, dark slim trousers and clean white sneakers, his school bag on one shoulder, talking to a classmate beside him. He laughed at something the classmate said, a real laugh, the one he reserved for moments he was not being observed, and then his eyes moved across the street the way they always did. Methodical. Unhurried. The scan of a child who had grown up understanding that the world his father occupied required a particular kind of awareness. He saw the sedan. He saw the men. His laugh did not stop immediately. That would have told them something. Instead it faded naturally the way a laugh does when a conversation moves on, and he turned to his classmate and said something short and smiled and then fell back half a step. He did not look at the sedan again. He took out his phone. He did not call Key. He called Fiona. Welcome to Black Silk Stories, the home of Afro-Korean stories that hit different. Subscribe, drop a comment, and do not go anywhere. This is only the beginning. Fiona was in the back of her car heading to a 2 o'clock site visit when her phone rang and Jum's name appeared on the screen. She picked up immediately. She always picked up for Jum. Hey, she started. Miss Jacobs. His voice was completely calm. Too calm. The particular calm of someone who had decided on calm as a strategy. I need you to listen carefully and not react loudly, please. Fiona's whole body went still. I am listening, she said. Her voice was level. She had not decided to make it level. It simply became level, the way it did in boardrooms when the numbers were bad and everyone was watching her face. There is a black sedan outside my school, Jum said quietly. 2 men. No plates. They have been here since before the gate opened. Mr. Andy has not seen them yet. I need you to call my father. Jum. I need you to call him because if I call him he will come himself and I do not want him to come himself. A pause. The briefest one. I need him to send the right people first and come after. He will listen to you. He does not always listen to himself when it is about me. Fiona pressed her hand flat against her knee. Where are you right now? She asked. Still inside the gate. I told my classmate I forgot something. I am standing near the notice board. I look like I am reading announcements. Good, she said. Stay there. Do not move toward the gate. Can you get back inside the building if you need to? Yes. Mrs. Choi is on door duty and she knows me. Good. I am calling your father right now. I am going to put you on hold. Do not hang up. I will not hang up, Jum said. Then quieter. Miss Jacobs. Yes. I am fine. She closed her eyes for exactly 1 second. I know you are. Stay on the line. She switched to her other line and called Key. He picked up on the first ring. Fiona. Listen to me, she said. Right now. There is a black sedan outside Jum's school. No plates. 2 men. Jum saw them. He is inside the gate near the entrance building. He is safe right now, but I need you to send people, the right people, before you do anything else. He specifically asked me to tell you that. The line was silent for 2 seconds. 2 full seconds of silence from a man who she had never heard go silent before. Then Key's voice came back, and it was not the voice from the kitchen table or the quiet restaurant or the phone calls that ended with the real laugh. It was something else entirely. Flat and precise and completely without temperature. Is he on the other line? Yes. Tell him to go back inside the building. Tell him to go to the main office and tell them his father is coming early for pickup. Tell him to sit where the office staff can see him, and not to go anywhere with anyone except Mr. Andy or a man named Sue. He will know Sue. Understood. She switched lines. Jum. Go to the main office now. Tell them your father is coming for early pickup. Sit where the staff can see you. Wait for Mr. Andy or a man named Sue. Sue, Jum repeated. Okay. Go now. Going. A pause. Then. Is my father angry? Fiona thought about the voice she had just heard. Flat and precise and completely without temperature. He is focused, she said carefully. That is the same thing, Jum said. With him. Go, Jum. She heard the soft sound of small feet moving quickly. Then the line went quiet. She switched back to Key. He is going to the office now, she said. Good. A pause. Fiona. Yes. Where are you? In my car. 10 minutes from my site visit. Cancel it, he said. I need you to go somewhere safe and stay there until I call you. Not your office. Somewhere with security that is not connected to your public schedule. Fiona looked out of the car window at the city moving past. Key. Please. That one word. The way he said it. Not a command. A request from a man who did not make requests easily. I do not know yet how wide this is. I need to know you are safe before I can think clearly. She understood then. Not just that he was worried about Jum. That he was worried about all of it. About the shape of what was being targeted. About whether Jum was the only piece on the board that had been moved. I will go to my father's house, she said. It has a full security system, and it is not on any public record connected to me. Good, he said. Go directly. Tell no one where you are going. I will call you when it is handled. Key. She stopped him before he could go. Yes. Find out who they are, she said. Her voice had something in it that surprised even her. Not fear. Something harder than fear. And handle it completely. A pause. You sound like someone who knows what that means, he said quietly. I am the daughter of a man who built things in hard places, she said. I know exactly what that means. Another pause. Then something shifted in his voice. Not warmth exactly, but recognition. The sound of a man seeing something in a person that he had suspected but not confirmed. Go to your father, he said. I will call you. He moved through his apartment in 4 minutes. He changed out of the gray sweater and dark trousers he had been wearing into all black. Not the gala suit, something different, something that moved, and made 3 phone calls before he reached the door. By the time he reached the underground car park, 6 of his people were already mobile. Mr. Andy called as he got into the car. Boss. Andy's voice was tight. I see them. Black sedan, 2 men, no plates. They have not moved. They are not going to move, he said, pulling out of the car park. They are a message. The question is who sent it. He paused. Is Jum inside? Confirmed. Office staff have him. He is sitting at the desk near the window eating a biscuit the receptionist gave him. He exhaled through his nose. His son. Eating a biscuit. As though he had not just calmly identified a surveillance vehicle, executed a strategic retreat, and managed the entire situation before any adult in his vicinity had registered there was a situation. Tell the receptionist he can have 2 biscuits, he said. Boss. Never mind. Stay where you are. Sue is 4 minutes out. When Sue arrives, you move Jum to the car together. You do not let Jum look at the sedan. You take the north exit, not the main gate. Understood. He ended the call and dialed a different number. It rang once. I need a name, he said when the line connected. Black sedan, no plates, 2 men. Outside St. Maro's School on Henley Road as of 3:15 today. I want to know who authorized it, and I want to know in the next 30 minutes. He ended that call too. He drove. The city moved around him the way it always did. Ordinary and indifferent and completely unaware that somewhere in a school office a 7-year-old boy was eating a biscuit and waiting with the composure of a general for extraction. Key's hands were steady on the wheel. But something was moving in his chest that had nothing steady about it. Jum was on his 2nd biscuit when Sue walked through the office door. Sue was a large man. Not tall but wide, with a face that had been rearranged by life more than once and had settled into something that most people found uncomfortable to look at directly. He wore a dark jacket and moved with the particular economy of someone who had learned that unnecessary movement was unnecessary information. He looked at Jum. Jum looked at him. Ready? Sue said. Yes, Jum said. He slid off the chair, picked up his school bag, and thanked the receptionist for the biscuits with a small formal nod that made her press her hand to her heart. They moved through the corridor quickly. Mr. Andy fell into step on Jum's other side. The 3 of them, the large scarred man, the neat composed child, and the driver, walked to the north exit without speaking. Outside, the car was already there. Running. Jum got in. The doors closed. They moved. Jum looked out of the back window once as they pulled away. He could see the black sedan still parked at the main gate, the 2 men still sitting in it, watching the front entrance for a small boy in a forest green jacket who had already left through a different door 4 minutes ago. He faced forward. Sue, he said. Yes. Where is my father? Coming. And Miss Jacobs? Sue glanced at him in the mirror. Safe. Jum nodded. He put his school bag on his lap and held it with both hands and looked out of the window at the city passing and said nothing else. But his knuckles, Sue noticed, were slightly white against the straps of the bag. Just slightly. Just enough to see if you were looking. Sue looked away and said nothing. Some things a man, even a 7-year-old one, was entitled to feel without an audience. He arrived at the safe house 20 minutes after the car. He came through the door and Jum was sitting on the sofa in the main room, school bag beside him, forest green jacket still on, eating, because of course he was, a third biscuit that someone had produced from somewhere. He looked up when Key walked in. Key crossed the room in 4 steps and crouched down in front of his son and put both hands on the sides of Jum's face and looked at him. Just looked at him. For a long moment. Taking inventory of every part of him. Jum let him. I am fine, Dad, he said quietly. I know, Key said. His voice was not the flat, precise voice from the phone calls. It was something underneath that. Something that had no professional application and lived only here, in this room between these two people. I saw them early, Jum said. I did not react. I followed protocol. You did everything right, Key said. I called Ms. Jacobs instead of you, Jum said. Are you angry about that? Key looked at his son. No. I knew you would come yourself if I called, Jum said. And I needed the right people to come first. You were right, Key said. Jum nodded slowly. Then he said, who are they? I don't know yet. But you will find out. Yes, Key said. I will find out. Jum looked at his father for a moment. Then he said something that Key would think about for a long time afterward. Dad, he said. Call Ms. Jacobs. She has been waiting and she will not call you because she does not want to distract you. But she is worried and she is trying not to show it. He paused. She does that. When she is scared she gets very quiet and very still and waits. Like she learned a long time ago that being scared out loud was not an option. Key looked at his son. This boy. This extraordinary, perceptive, completely unreasonable boy. When did you learn that about her? Key asked quietly. The phone call today, Jum said simply. Her voice was level the whole time. Too level. That is not calm. That is controlled. He picked up his biscuit. Call her, Dad. Key stood up. He pressed his hand briefly to the top of Jum's perfectly parted hair, the most physical affection Jum usually tolerated without comment, and stepped away to make the call. Jum watched him go. Then he looked down at his school bag. His knuckles finally unclenched. Fiona picked up before the first ring finished. He is safe, Key said. He is with me. He is eating biscuits and he is completely fine. She sat down. She had not realized she was standing until she sat down, in her father's living room on the edge of the sofa, still in her coat, still with her bag on her shoulder, exactly as she had arrived 40 minutes ago because she had not been able to do anything as ordinary as take her coat off while she did not know. Okay, she said. Just that one word, but it carried everything. Fiona. His voice was careful. Are you all right? I am fine, she said. Jum said you would say that. She pressed her hand over her eyes briefly. Of course he did. He also said your voice goes level when you are scared. A pause. He said that is not calm. That is controlled. She was quiet for a moment. Outside her father's window the late afternoon light was doing the long golden thing it did in the hour before evening, falling across the garden in a way that was so ordinary and so peaceful that it felt almost offensive against the last 2 hours. He is right, she said quietly. I learned a long time ago that being scared out loud was not useful. Who taught you that? He asked. Life, she said. And my father. And $300 million contracts that don't care how you feel about them. A short pause. Then Key said, I am sorry you were pulled into this. Don't, she said. Fiona. Do not apologize to me for this, she said, and there was something firm in it. Not anger. Firmness. The kind that came from a decision already made. I told I told him at lunch that your world was not a wall for me. I meant that. Today tested it. She paused. It held. The line was quiet. It held, he repeated softly. Yes, she said. So do not apologize. Just tell me what happens next. He was silent for a moment. When he spoke again something had shifted, the way it shifted between two people when a line gets crossed that neither of them named but both of them felt. I need to find out who sent those men, he said. And why? And I need to make sure it does not happen again. How long will that take? I will know who tonight, he said. What I do with that information will take longer. And Jum. He stays with me until this is resolved. No school for the rest of the week. He will hate that more than anything that happened today. Despite everything, Fiona laughed. A short, surprised one. He really will. He already complained about it twice on the way here, he said. He said, and I am quoting, "Missing school is a disproportionate response to a sedan, Dad." Fiona laughed again, properly this time, and the laugh did what laughs do in dark moments. It let some of the air back in. Let the chest remember how to be a chest and not a fist. Key, she said when it had settled. Yes. Can I come, she asked. To wherever you are. I do not want to sit in my father's house and wait. I am not built for waiting. A pause. You want to come to the safe house. I want to be where Jum is, she said simply. And where you are. Another pause from her side. If that is the right thing. It is the right thing, he said quietly. I will send a car. She arrived 40 minutes later in a camel-colored wool coat over a burnt sienna turtleneck and dark trousers. Her hair pulled back simply, no jewelry except the small gold earrings she had been wearing when the call came and had not thought to change. Jum was at the door. Not because anyone had told him to be. Because he had heard the car and positioned himself there with the instinct of someone who needed to see with his own eyes. He looked at her when she came through the door. She looked at him. And then Fiona Jacobs, billionaire CEO, the woman who signed $300 million contracts without blinking, the woman whose voice went level when she was scared because she had learned that being scared out loud was not an option, crossed the entrance in 3 steps and crouched down and pulled Jum into a hug. She had not planned to do it. Simply happened. Jum went still for exactly 1 second, the surprise of it, the unexpectedness, and then his small arms came up and went around her and he held on with the quiet completeness of a child who had needed this without knowing it and was not going to pretend otherwise. They stayed like that for a moment. Neither of them said anything. He stood in the doorway of the main room and watched and felt something move through him so completely that he had to look away for a moment at nothing in particular and breathe. When Fiona pulled back, she held Jum by the shoulders and looked at his face. You did everything right today, she said. Everything. I know, Jum said. His voice was slightly less than its usual composure. Just slightly. Just enough. But thank you for saying it. She straightened up. He was still in the doorway. She looked at him across the entrance. He looked at her. She was still in her coat, her hair pulled back simply, and she looked like someone who had come through something difficult and come through it completely, not unaffected, just unbroken. He crossed the entrance and stopped in front of her, and then he did something he had not done before. He put his arms around her, not the brief touch across the restaurant table, not the careful stepping forward. He held her properly, fully, the way you hold someone when you are grateful they exist and want them to feel it without having to find the words. She pressed her face briefly against his shoulder. 3 seconds. Maybe 4. Then they separated and neither of them made anything of it and both of them carried it. The name came through at 9:47 that evening. He was in the back room of the safe house with Sue and 2 others when his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. Read the name. Read it again. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Leave me for a minute." The room emptied. He sat with the name for 5 minutes alone. He knew the name. He had known the family attached to it for 15 years. He understood immediately why and he understood immediately what it meant and what it would cost to address it completely. He went back to the main room. Jum was on the sofa in gray slim pajamas and a white long-sleeve top, a book open on his lap, reading with the focused concentration he brought to everything. He looked up when Key came in. Fiona was in the armchair across from him, shoes off, legs tucked beneath her. A cup of tea from somewhere going warm between both hands. She looked up too. He sat down on the sofa beside Jum. "I know who it was," he said. The room was quiet. "A family called Beck," he said. "They have been trying to move into territory that borders mine for 2 years. Every legitimate attempt has failed. This," he stopped. "This was not a legitimate attempt. This was pressure. They wanted me to know they could reach what matters to me." "Could they have taken him?" Fiona asked. Her voice was level. Completely level. "They could have tried," he said. "They would not have succeeded. But yes, they could have tried." Fiona nodded once. She looked at her tea, then at Key. What happens now? I go and have a conversation with Chairman Beck, Key said. Tonight. What kind of conversation? Jem asked. Key looked at his son. The kind that makes sure this never happens again. Jem held his father's gaze for a moment. Then he nodded, the small decisive nod. Good. I need you to stay here with Sue, Key said. And with Miss Jacobs if she is willing. Jem looked at Fiona. Fiona looked at Key. I am willing, she said. Go. Key stood. He looked at both of them. His son in gray pajamas with a book, this woman in a camel coat with her shoes off and a cup of tea, and felt the particular weight of having something real to come back to. He had not felt that in a very long time. I will be back before midnight, he said. We will be here, Fiona said. After Key left, the safe house settled into a quiet that was surprisingly comfortable. Sue and the others were in the back rooms. The main room belonged to Jem and Fiona, and the low lamp and the sound of the city at night beyond the windows. Jem read for a while. Fiona finished her tea and got a second cup and came back and sat down. Neither of them felt the need to fill the silence. Then Jem closed his book. He looked at Fiona across the low table. Are you going to stay? He asked. In our lives. After this. Fiona held her cup in both hands. Is this another non-negotiable conversation? No, Jem said. This one is just a question. He paused. A real one. She looked at him. This boy who had started everything with a bowl of truffle mushroom soup, and a folded piece of paper, and a fist emoji at 11 o'clock at night. This boy who had seen a sedan outside his school, and called her instead of his father because he knew his father needed managing as much as protecting. Yes, she said. I am going to stay. Jem looked at her for a moment, reading her the way he always did, completely and without rushing. Even with today? He asked. Especially with today, she said. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that undid her just as completely as the folded piece of paper had. My mother left, he said. Simply. Without drama. The way someone states a fact they have long since made peace with. When I was 2. She said our world was too heavy. He looked at his book cover. I do not remember her. But my father does. And it made him careful about letting people in. He looked up. He let you in. That is not a small thing for him. Fiona said nothing. She let it sit the way it deserved to sit. I know, she said finally. I do not take it lightly. I know you don't, Jem said. That is why I let you in too. He picked up his book again. I do not let everyone in, Miss Jacobs. I know, Jem, she said softly. You can call me Jem, he said. Just Jem. Without the formal part. He opened his book. You have earned it. Fiona looked at this 7-year-old boy. Thank you, she said. Jem. He nodded once without looking up from his page. He came back at 11:43. He came through the door and the first thing he did was look at the sofa. Jem was asleep. He had fallen asleep sitting up with his book open on his lap, his head tipped slightly to the side. His face in sleep, the face of a child. All the composure and seriousness dissolved into something soft and young and completely unguarded. Fiona was sitting beside him. She had not moved him. She had simply stayed beside him and let him sleep and put her hand over his on the book so it did not fall. She looked up when Key came in. He stood in the entrance and looked at them. His son asleep with his book and this woman sitting quietly beside him in the lamplight with her hand over his small hand, and felt something settle in him so completely and so finally that it was like a door closing on every cold and empty room he had lived in for the last 5 years. He crossed the room. He sat down on the other side of Jem. He looked at Fiona across his sleeping son. It is handled, he said quietly. Chairman Beck understands very clearly that certain things are permanently off the table. Good, she said. He will not move against us again. Us. He had said it without thinking. It sat in the room between them warm and unretractable. Fiona looked at him. Us, she said. He held her gaze. Yes, he said. If that is. It is, she said. They were quiet for a moment. Jem slept between them, his small chest rising and falling, his book still open. We should put him to bed, Fiona said softly. Yes, he said. But neither of them moved immediately. They sat for another moment in the lamplight on either side of this sleeping boy who had started everything, who had walked into a restaurant alone and ordered truffle mushroom soup and decided with complete and unshakable certainty that his father deserved something real and had gone out and found it with the focused determination of someone who did not recognize the word impossible. He carefully lifted the book from Jum's lap. He looked at the page Jum had been reading. He showed it to Fiona across the sofa. It was a chapter titled, How to Bring People Together. Fiona pressed her lips together. He pressed his hand over his mouth. And then they were both trying very hard not to laugh loudly enough to wake the boy between them and failing at it quietly and completely, shoulders moving, eyes watering. The whole helpless silent laughter of two people who had been outmaneuvered by a 7-year-old and could not find a single thing to say about it except that they were glad. Later, after Jum had been carried to bed still asleep, after Sue and the others had stood down, after the safe house had gone quiet, he and Fiona sat at the kitchen table. Not the Sunday kitchen table with the rameon. A different table. A harder night. But the same two people and the same quality of silence between them that had nothing empty in it. I need to ask you something, he said. Ask, she said. My world. He looked at his hands on the table. It will not always be tonight. But it will sometimes be tonight. I cannot promise you it will not. He looked up. Knowing that, really knowing it, not the idea of it but the reality of it. Can you build something with me? Fiona looked at him across the table. She thought about a phone call at 3:15. A level voice that was not calm but controlled. A 7-year-old boy's knuckles white against a school bag. A hug in an entrance hall that she had not planned. She thought about a folded piece of paper that said, he has not been happy the way he should be for a long time. She thought about sitting in a lamplight room with her hand over a sleeping child's hand waiting for his father to come home. She said. I did not come this far to build something small. He looked at her. I am in, she said. Completely. All of it. He reached across the table. She put her hand in his. And this time it was not 4 seconds. 3 weeks later on a Saturday morning, Jum came downstairs to find Fiona at the kitchen counter making coffee and his father at the table reading something on his phone, and the apartment full of the particular easy quiet of people who had stopped being careful around each other. He stood in the kitchen doorway in his pajamas, pale blue with small white stripes, his hair for once entirely unperfect, sticking up on one side in a way he would have been mortified about in public, and looked at the scene in front of him. Fiona turned and saw him. Good morning, she said. Coffee or hot chocolate? Hot chocolate, Jum said. Please. He looked up from his phone. Hair, he said simply. Jum touched the side of his head, located the problem, accepted it with dignity. He walked to the table and sat down across from his father. Fiona set a mug of hot chocolate in front of him with a small plate of toast cut into triangles, because she had learned 2 weeks ago that Jum ate toast in triangles and not rectangles and had filed that information away without comment and simply acted on it. Jum looked at the triangles. He looked at Fiona's back as she turned back to the coffee. He looked at his father. He looked back at him over his phone with an expression that said, do not make a whole thing of this. Jum looked back at his hot chocolate. He picked it up with both hands the way he always did and took a small careful sip. Then he said, to no one in particular, to both of them, to the warm Saturday morning kitchen that smelled like coffee and toast and something that had no name but felt like everything. This is good. Just that. This is good. And it was. It was exactly that. Some boys play with toys. Some boys play with ideas. Jum played with people's futures, and he was very, very good at it. This has been my little matchmaker. All 3 parts. All one story. Started by a bowl of truffle mushroom soup and finished at a Saturday morning kitchen table. If this series moved you, made you laugh, made you feel something you were not expecting, then you found the right channel. Like every part. Share the whole series. Subscribe and stay because Black Silk Stories has more stories where this came from, and every single one of them will hit different. You found us. Do not leave. Black Silk Stories, where Afro-Korean love hits different.